Commander Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the starship Starbound, watching the strange alien vessel approach through the viewport. After 3 years of deep space exploration, this was humanity's first contact with intelligent alien life. The ship looked nothing like the vessels humans built. It was smooth and curved, almost like a giant pearl floating in the darkness of space. "They're requesting permission to dock," said Communications Officer Betty Hall from her station. Her voice carried a mix of excitement and nervousness that everyone on the bridge felt. Jake nodded and straightened his uniform. "Grant them permission. Tell them we're honored to meet them. Dr. Lisa Rodriguez, the ship's scientist who studied alien life," moved closer to Jake. "The translation software is working perfectly. They speak something they call Common Galactic. It seems most space-traveling species use it." "That's convenient," Jake replied. He had spent weeks wondering how they would even begin to communicate with aliens. The fact that they already had a universal language made things much easier. 20 minutes later, Jake stood in the docking bay with his senior staff. The alien airlock opened with a soft hiss and 3 beings stepped out. They were tall and thin, with pale blue skin and large dark eyes. They moved carefully, almost like they were afraid of breaking something. The lead alien stepped forward and spoke in a voice that sounded like music. "I am Ambassador Zelthic of the Vrixi people. We represent the Galactic Federation of Worlds. We come in peace." Jake smiled and extended his hand. "I'm Commander Jake Morrison. Welcome aboard the Starbound. We're happy to meet you." Zelthic looked at Jake's outstretched hand with confusion. After a moment, he reached out and barely touched Jake's fingers before quickly pulling back. The other 2 aliens behind him whispered to each other in their musical language. "Perhaps we should move to the meeting room," suggested Dr. Rodriguez. Noticing the aliens seemed uncomfortable as they walked through the ship's corridors, Jake noticed the aliens stayed close together and jumped at every small sound. When they passed Maintenance Chief Carl Brooks, who was carrying a heavy toolbox, the aliens stopped and stared. Carl was a big man, and he carried the 50-pound box like it weighed nothing. "Is that being enhanced?" whispered one of the aliens. "To Zelthic enhanced?" Jake asked, overhearing. "You mean Carl?" "No, he's just strong. Most humans can carry that much weight." The aliens exchanged worried looks in the meeting room. The humans and aliens sat across from each other at a large table. The aliens kept their distance, staying at the far end. Jake noticed they had brought some kind of scanning devices that they kept pointing at the humans. "We are pleased to make contact with your species," Zelthic began. "We have been watching your world from a distance. Your people have achieved faster than light travel, which means you are ready to join the galactic community." "That's wonderful news," Jake said. "We've dreamed of meeting other intelligent life for centuries. Tell us about this Galactic Federation." Zelthic explained that the Federation included over 200 different species from across the galaxy. They shared technology, traded resources, and kept peace between worlds. It sounded like exactly what humanity had hoped to find among the stars. "We would like to learn about your culture," said the second alien, who had introduced herself as Science Officer Yith. "Please tell us about your homeworld." Dr. Rodriguez smiled and activated the room's display screen. "Earth is a beautiful planet. We have vast oceans, high mountains, and many different climates. Humans have spread to every continent." She showed pictures of Earth's landscapes. The aliens seemed interested but kept making notes on their devices. "Your world appears to have significant atmospheric disturbances," observed Yith, pointing at a picture of storm clouds. "Oh, those are just normal weather patterns," Lisa explained. "We get storms, rain, snow. It changes with the seasons." "And your people live through these atmospheric disturbances?" asked the third alien medical officer Korth. "Of course," Lisa laughed. "We've learned to build shelters and wear appropriate clothing. Some people even enjoy storms. My brother loves to watch lightning." The aliens whispered among themselves again, and Jake caught the word disturbing in their translation. "Perhaps you could tell us about your daily activities," suggested ZLTHA, decided to jump in. "Well, most humans work during the day. We have many different jobs. Some people work in offices, others build things, some grow food. We also enjoy recreation like sports and games. Sports? Asked Yif. Physical competitions, explained Dr. Rodriguez. Like running races or games where people try to throw balls through hoops or contact sports where teams compete for territory. Contact sports? Korth sounded alarmed. Sure, said Jake. Football, boxing, wrestling. People enjoy watching others compete physically. It's harmless fun. The aliens looked at each other with what Jake was beginning to recognize as concern. You mentioned growing food, said Zelphic carefully. What do your people eat? Oh, all kinds of things, Lisa replied enthusiastically. Fruits, vegetables, grains, meat from various animals. We also enjoy spices that add flavor to our food. Some people like their food very spicy. Spices? Asked Korth. Chemical compounds that create sensations of heat or flavor, Lisa explained. Like capsaicin from peppers? It creates a burning sensation that many humans enjoy. Korth nearly dropped his scanning device. Your people voluntarily consume burning chemicals? Well, when you put it that way, it sounds weird, laughed Jake. But yes, we enjoy spicy food. We also drink coffee, which contains caffeine, and alcohol, which is ethanol. Many humans consume these daily. The aliens were now typing frantically on their devices. Jake wondered if they were having translation problems. These substances, Zelphic said slowly, they do not harm your people. Not in normal amounts, Lisa assured them. Humans have consumed these things for thousands of years. Our bodies can process them safely. Your bodies can process industrial solvents and chemical irritants, Korth repeated, as if he couldn't believe what he was hearing. I guess so, Jake shrugged. We don't really think about it that way. It's just part of being human. The meeting continued for another hour, but Jake noticed the aliens seemed more and more uncomfortable. They asked strange questions about human physical capabilities, survival instincts, and what they called aggression tolerance. Every answer the humans gave seemed to make the aliens more nervous. Finally, Zelphic stood up. We thank you for this educational meeting. We would like to return to our ship to discuss what we have learned. Of course, Jake said, standing. As well, we hope this is the beginning of a long friendship between our peoples. As they walked back to the docking bay, Jake overheard the aliens talking in their own language. The translation software picked up fragments, impossible metabolism, predatory adaptations, and extremely dangerous. Jake frowned. He couldn't understand why the aliens would think humans were dangerous. They had been nothing but friendly and welcoming at the airlock. Zelphic turned back to Jake. We will return to our homeworld and make our report to the Federation Council. They will decide how to proceed with contact. We look forward to hearing from you, Jake replied after the alien ship departed. Jake stood in the observation deck with Dr. Rodriguez and the other senior staff. That was interesting, Lisa said. They seem nervous about something. Maybe they're just cautious, suggested Betty Hall. First contact is a big deal for them, too. Did you notice how they reacted when we talked about normal human activities? Asked Carl Brooks. Like they'd never heard of people eating spicy food or lifting heavy objects? Jake nodded. They must come from a very different kind of world. Maybe their species is more fragile than humans. Well, said Lisa, I'm sure once they get to know us better, they'll realize we're not scary at all. Humans are probably the friendliest species they'll ever meet. Jake smiled and looked out at the stars, wondering what the Galactic Federation would think of humanity. He had no idea that the aliens were already composing reports that would classify Earth as the most dangerous planet in known space. 3 weeks had passed since the first meeting with the aliens, and Jake Morrison was beginning to worry. The Galactic Federation had been silent until yesterday, when they sent a message requesting permission to send an investigation team to Earth. Jake found it strange that they called it an investigation rather than a diplomatic mission, but he assumed it was just a translation issue. Now, Jake stood in the briefing room at Earth Defense Command headquarters in Colorado, looking at the massive alien ship that had just entered Earth's atmosphere. The vessel was 3 times larger than any human spacecraft, and it bristled with what looked like advanced sensors and protective shields. "They're requesting landing permission at the designated coordinates," reported Communications Officer Nancy Turner. "But they're also asking us to clear a 5-mile radius around the landing site." General Robert Hayes, the head of Earth Defense Command, frowned at the display. 5 miles? That's a lot of empty space. Are they expecting some kind of ceremony? Dr. Amy Foster, Earth's leading expert on planetary biology, looked up from her tablet. "Maybe their ship is just really big and they need room to land safely." "The ship isn't that big," said Marine Sergeant Danny Walsh, who had been assigned as the military liaison for the alien visit. "I've seen the specs. Something else is going on." An hour later, Danny stood at the edge of the cleared zone, watching the alien ship descend. It landed with surprising gentleness, barely disturbing the grass around it. But instead of opening immediately, the ship sat silent for nearly 30 minutes. Finally, a ramp extended from the ship, and figures began to emerge. Danny counted 12 different aliens, each one wearing what looked like a full environmental suit. They moved slowly and carefully, staying close together in a tight group. The lead alien approached Danny, but stopped about 20 feet away. "I am Chief Assessor Quinter of the Galactic Federation Investigation Division. You must be Sergeant Walsh." Danny stepped forward with a friendly smile, but the aliens immediately backed away. "Welcome to Earth," Danny said, confused by their reaction. "I'm here to help with whatever you need." "Please maintain your current distance," Quinter said quickly. "We have specific safety protocols that must be followed." Danny stopped walking, puzzled. "Safety protocols? Is there some kind of danger I should know about?" "The danger is ... Double Quinter paused, as if searching for the right words. "We will explain later. For now, we request that all interactions be conducted through remote communication devices." 1. Of the aliens rolled forward a small robot with a screen and speakers. "Please use this device for all communication. Direct contact is not advisable." Danny looked at the robot, then at the heavily protected aliens, then back at the robot. "Okay, if that's what you prefer. But I have to ask, are you afraid of catching some kind of disease from humans?" "Disease is one of many concerns," replied another alien through the communication device. "I am Dr. Vexty, Specialist in Dangerous Species Analysis. We have reviewed the initial contact reports, and your species presents numerous risk factors." "Risk factors?" Danny was completely lost. "What kind of risk factors?" "We will conduct a full assessment," Dr. Vexty explained. "But preliminary. Data suggests your species possesses several traits typically associated with apex predatory organisms." Danny almost laughed. "Apex predators? You mean like lions and sharks?" "Humans aren't really predators anymore. We mostly eat plants and farm animals." The aliens exchanged glances through their helmet visors. "You consume other organisms for sustenance," observed Dr. Vexty. "Well, yes, most living things do. Don't your people eat food?" "We consume synthesized nutrients," replied Quinter. "The concept of consuming other living beings is disturbing to most Federation species." Danny was beginning to understand that these aliens were very different from humans. "Would you like me to take you to our research facility? Dr. Foster is waiting to give you a presentation about Earth." The aliens huddled together for a moment, then Quinter nodded. "We will follow at a safe distance." The convoy to the research facility was unlike anything Danny had ever experienced. The aliens traveled in their own hover vehicles, maintaining exactly 100 meters distance from the human vehicles at all times. When they reached the facility, the aliens refused to enter the building until it had been completely evacuated of all human personnel except Dr. Foster. Dr. Foster waited in the main presentation room, which had been equipped with the same remote communication system the aliens preferred. She had prepared what she thought was a friendly introduction to Earth's ecosystem, complete with pictures and videos of the planet's natural beauty. "Welcome to Earth," Dr. Foster began cheerfully. "I'm excited to share information about our wonderful planet with you." She started with basic facts about Earth's size, atmosphere, and position in the solar system. The aliens took notes constantly, but seemed most interested in what Dr. Foster considered the boring technical details. Earth has a very active geological system, Dr. Foster explained, showing images of mountains and valleys. Our planet is constantly changing through natural processes. Define active geological system, requested Dr. Vexty. Well, we have moving tectonic plates that create earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. The surface is always shifting and changing. The aliens stopped taking notes and stared at the screen. Your planet experiences frequent seismic events and volcanic activity? Asked Quinter. Not frequent exactly, but they do happen. Most of the time they're small and hardly noticeable. We've learned to build structures that can handle the movement. And your people continue to live on this unstable surface? Dr. Vexty sounded incredulous. Of course, Dr. Foster replied, puzzled by the question. Where else would we live? Besides, the geological activity is part of what makes Earth so diverse and beautiful. She moved on to weather patterns, showing time-lapse videos of storm systems moving across the planet. Earth has a very dynamic climate system. We experience many different types of weather. The presentation showed hurricanes, tornadoes, blizzards, and thunderstorms. Dr. Foster pointed out how beautiful the cloud formations were and how the storms help distribute water and nutrients around the planet. These atmospheric disturbances appear to be quite violent, observed one of the other aliens who had introduced himself as weather specialist Korthai. Some of them can be intense, Dr. Foster agreed. But humans have learned to predict and prepare for severe weather. We build storm shelters and evacuation systems. Most people actually find storms exciting to watch. Your people find violent atmospheric events exciting? Korthai repeated. Many do, yes. Thunder and lightning are quite spectacular. Some people even chase storms to get better views and photographs. The room fell silent, Dr. Foster wondered. If there was a problem with the translation system, finally, Quinter spoke. Dr. Foster, you mentioned that humans have learned to build structures that can handle movement and learn to predict and prepare for severe weather. How did your species acquire these abilities? Through experience mostly, Dr. Foster replied. Humans have lived through many natural disasters over thousands of years. We've learned to adapt and survive. Survive, repeated Dr. Vexty. Your species has survived multiple catastrophic events? Oh, yes, many of them. Ice ages, volcanic winters, floods, droughts, plagues. Human history is full of challenges that we've overcome. Dr. Foster continued her presentation, showing the diversity of Earth's ecosystems. She displayed images of deserts, Arctic regions, deep ocean trenches, and tropical rainforests. Humans live in all of these environments, she explained proudly. We're one of the most adaptable species on Earth. We can survive in almost any climate or terrain. The aliens were now typing furiously on their devices. Dr. Foster noticed they seemed particularly interested when she mentioned that humans could survive in extreme temperatures, high altitudes, and even underwater for limited periods. Dr. Foster, Quinter said carefully, when you say humans can survive in almost any climate, what exactly do you mean? Well, we live everywhere from the Arctic ice to desert regions where temperatures reach over 50 degrees Celsius. We've built cities on mountains and valleys near active volcanoes and on the edges of frozen seas. Humans are very good at finding ways to live wherever they want to. And this is considered normal for your species? Asked Dr. Vexty. Completely normal, Dr. Foster confirmed. It's just part of being human. We adapt to whatever environment we find ourselves in. The presentation continued for 2 more hours, but Dr. Foster noticed the aliens seemed increasingly agitated. They asked detailed questions about human survival capabilities, adaptability, and what they kept referring to as environmental tolerance thresholds. When the session ended, the aliens retreated to their ship without explanation. Dr. Foster was left wondering why they seemed so concerned about basic facts of human existence. Outside the facility, Danny watched the alien ship through. Binoculars. He could see figures moving back and forth behind the illuminated windows, and the communication arrays were active constantly. They're sending a lot of data somewhere, observed communications specialist Retta Clark, who was monitoring the alien. Transmissions. Whatever they learned today, they're sharing it with someone important. Danny lowered his binoculars and shook his head. The morning after Dr. Foster's presentation, the alien investigation team began what they called detailed documentation of terrestrial survival impossibilities. Danny Walsh received the assignment list and couldn't understand half the items. On it, the aliens wanted to study human food consumption, physical capabilities, and something they called recreational danger-seeking behavior. Agent Claire Bennett from the State Department had arrived overnight to help coordinate the investigation. She was a cheerful woman in her 30s who spoke several Earth languages and had experience with cultural exchanges. She thought her biggest challenge would be explaining human customs to aliens, not figuring out why they seemed terrified of everything humans did. They want to observe normal human activities, Claire explained to Danny as they reviewed the day's schedule. Eating, working, exercising, basic stuff? Sounds easy enough, Danny replied. Though I still don't understand why they need to stay so far away from us. The first item on the investigation list was human nutrition. The aliens had requested a demonstration of typical human food preparation and consumption. Claire had arranged for Chef Maria Santos from the base cafeteria to prepare a standard meal while the aliens observed through their remote cameras. Maria was excited to cook for aliens. She had planned a menu that she thought represented the best of human cuisine. Grilled chicken with vegetables, spicy rice, fresh salad, and chocolate cake for dessert. She also planned to demonstrate how humans use various spices and seasonings. The aliens watched from their mobile observation unit, which they had parked 50 meters away from the kitchen. Maria waved at their cameras and began explaining what she was doing. First, I'm going to season the chicken with salt, pepper, and garlic, Maria said cheerfully. Then I'll add some hot sauce for flavor. She opened a bottle of hot sauce and poured it generously over the meat. Through the communication system, she heard one of the aliens make a sound that the translator interpreted as distress. That appears to be a chemical irritant, said Dr. Vexty. Are you certain it is safe for consumption? Maria laughed. Hot sauce? This is mild compared to what some people eat. My husband loves ghost peppers. Those are really spicy. Ghost peppers? Asked another alien voice. A type of pepper that measures over 1 million Scoville units, Maria explained proudly. That's a measure of how hot something is. Some people compete to see who can eat the hottest peppers. The aliens were silent for a long moment. Then Dr. Vexty asked, Your people voluntarily consume substances that cause pain? Well, it's not really pain, Maria said, considering the question. It's more like a burning sensation that some people enjoy. It makes you feel alive. As Maria continued cooking, she added more ingredients that seemed to alarm the aliens. Black pepper made them ask about particulate irritants. Garlic caused questions about sulfur compounds. When she opened a beer to drink while cooking, explaining that many humans enjoyed alcohol with their meals, 2 aliens had to leave the observation unit. Ethanol is an industrial solvent, stated Dr. Vexty. Your people consume it recreationally? Beer, wine, whiskey, Maria nodded. Most adults drink alcohol sometimes. It helps people relax and socialize, and this does not harm your internal organs? Not if you don't drink too much, Maria replied. Humans have been drinking alcohol for thousands of years. Our bodies can handle it. The food preparation was only the beginning. When Maria sat down to eat the meal she had prepared, the aliens recorded every bite. They seemed particularly disturbed when she added extra hot sauce to her rice and smiled while eating. The subject appears to be experiencing pleasure while consuming chemical irritants, observed one alien. That's the point, Maria called out to them. Food should taste good. Spicy food makes you sweat a little, but it's enjoyable. After lunch, the investigation moved to the base gymnasium where the aliens wanted to observe human physical capabilities. Danny had arranged for several soldiers to demonstrate normal exercise routines. Private. Kevin Miller started with basic exercises, push-ups, sit-ups, and weightlifting. The aliens measured everything he did, recording the amount of weight he could lift and how many repetitions he could perform. Miller can bench press twice his body weight, Danny explained to the aliens. That's pretty normal for someone in good shape. Through their communication device, Quinter asked, "This individual has been enhanced with mechanical augmentations?" Enhanced? No, Kevin just works out regularly. Most soldiers can do similar exercises. Private Sandra Lee demonstrated running on a treadmill, gradually increasing the speed until she was sprinting. The aliens seemed fascinated and horrified as they watched her heart rate and breathing increase while she continued running. The subject's vital signs indicate extreme physiological stress, observed Medical Officer Korth. Yet she continues the activity voluntarily. Sandra's training for a marathon, Danny explained. That's a 26-mile running race. She runs for fun. 26 miles? Korth sounded shocked. That distance would be fatal for most Federation species. Fatal? Sandra runs the distance for exercise. Some humans run even farther. We have races that go for hundreds of miles. The aliens requested a private conference and huddled around their communication equipment for several minutes. When they returned, they asked to observe what they called recreational danger activities. Claire had arranged for Air Force Colonel Steve Martinez to demonstrate flight capabilities. Steve was happy to show off for the aliens, and he took his fighter jet through a series of standard maneuvers over the base. The aliens tracked the aircraft with their sensors, monitoring the forces acting on the pilot. When Steve pulled a sharp turn that subjected him to 9 times normal gravity, alarms began sounding in the alien observation unit. The pilot should be unconscious or dead, stated one alien. No biological entity can survive those acceleration forces. Through his radio, Steve called down cheerfully, "How was that? I can do some barrel rolls if you want to see more." "The pilot is requesting to perform additional high-stress maneuvers," reported the aliens to their ship. "He appears to be enjoying the experience. Steve loves flying," Claire explained. "Most pilots do. They find it exciting." "Your species finds mortal danger exciting?" asked Dr. Vexty. "Well, it's not really mortal danger when you know what you're doing," Claire replied. "Steve is highly trained. Flying is safe when done properly." The investigation took an unexpected turn when Maintenance Chief Pete Johnson arrived to fix a broken air conditioning unit in the observation area. The aliens watched in fascination as Pete diagnosed the problem, gathered some tools and spare parts, and began working. Pete quickly discovered that the exact replacement part he needed wasn't available. Without hesitation, he modified a similar part using a drill, some wire, and duct tape. Within 30 minutes, the air conditioning was running perfectly. "The maintenance individual has repaired a complex system using improvised methods," observed one alien. "Pete's good at fixing things," Danny said with pride. "He can repair almost anything with basic tools." "But he did not follow established safety protocols," protested Dr. Vexty. "He modified critical components without proper authorization or testing." "Sometimes you have to improvise," Pete called out, overhearing the conversation. "If something's broken, you find a way to fix it. That's just common sense." The aliens spent the rest of the afternoon documenting what they called human problem-solving adaptability. They seemed both impressed and terrified by the casual way humans approached complex problems. The final event of the day was supposed to be a simple nature walk led by Park Ranger Kate Sullivan. Kate had chosen what she considered an easy trail through a local forest preserve, perfect for visitors who might not be used to outdoor activities. The walk started normally, with Kate pointing out different trees and plants. But within the first 10 minutes, the group encountered a bee gathering nectar from flowers. The aliens immediately activated emergency protocols and retreated to their maximum safe distance. "It's just a bee," Kate called to them. "They're not dangerous unless you bother them." The creature is armed with a biological weapon," replied one alien. "It injects venom into targets." Only if you threaten it, Kate explained. Bees are actually helpful. They pollinate plants. The situation escalated when a squirrel ran across the path in front of the group. The alien sensors detected the squirrel's rapid movement and unpredictable behavior pattern. Two aliens activated what appeared to be defensive shields. Warning, uncontrolled biological entity displaying aggressive movement patterns, announced their automated systems. That's just a squirrel, Kate laughed. They're looking for nuts and seeds, completely harmless. The walk ended abruptly when Kate pointed out a spider web stretching between two trees. She was explaining how spiders helped control insect populations. When she noticed the aliens had gone completely silent. The arachnid entity possesses multiple locomotion appendages and chemical weapon capabilities, whispered Dr. Vexty. This ecosystem is populated with miniature apex predators. It's just a garden spider, Kate said, confused by their reaction. They eat mosquitoes and flies. Most people like having spiders around. That evening, as the alien investigation team compiled their daily reports, they faced a troubling conclusion. The fourth week of the alien investigation began with what Dr. Vexty called deep historical analysis. The Federation team had requested access to human archaeological sites, museums, and historical databases. They wanted to understand how humanity had developed its apparently impossible survival abilities. Dr. Ben Carter, Earth's leading expert on human evolution, was excited to share his knowledge with beings from other worlds. He had prepared a comprehensive presentation covering millions of years of human development, from early ancestors to modern civilization. "Welcome to the Natural History Museum," Dr. Carter said cheerfully as he led the aliens through the exhibits. Via their remote viewing system, "I think you'll find human evolution fascinating." The aliens followed at their usual safe distance, their sensors recording everything. Dr. Carter started with the earliest human ancestors, explaining how they had lived in Africa millions of years ago. These early humans were quite different from modern people, Dr. Carter explained, pointing to a reconstruction of an early hominid. But they already showed signs of the adaptability that would help humans survive. "Define survive," requested Quinter. Well, early humans faced many challenges. Climate changes, predators, food shortages, diseases. But they learned to use tools, control fire, and work together in groups. Dr. Carter showed images of stone tools and explained how early humans had learned to shape rocks into weapons and cutting implements. The aliens seemed disturbed by this information. "Your ancestors created weapons as a survival strategy?" asked Dr. Vexty. "Tools and weapons, yes," Dr. Carter confirmed. They needed to hunt animals for food and defend themselves from predators. Tool use is one of the defining characteristics of human development. The presentation moved forward through human history, covering the major developments in human civilization. Dr. Carter explained how humans had survived ice ages by learning to make clothing and build shelters. He showed how they had developed agriculture, allowing them to grow their own food instead of just hunting and gathering. During the last ice age, which ended about 10,000 years ago, humans lived through conditions that would kill most life forms, Dr. Carter explained. Temperatures dropped drastically, and much of the planet was covered in ice. But humans adapted by creating better tools, warmer clothing, and more sophisticated shelters. "Your species survived a planetary cooling event?" Korth sounded amazed. "Several of them, actually. Ice ages happen regularly in Earth's history. Humans have lived through multiple global climate changes." The aliens were taking detailed notes, but Dr. Carter noticed they seemed increasingly agitated as the presentation continued. When he reached the section on human migration patterns, their concern became more obvious. Humans spread across the entire planet over thousands of years, Dr. Carter explained, showing a map of human migration routes. They walked across continents, crossed oceans, and settled in every possible environment. "Every environment?" asked Specialist Korthai. "Deserts, mountains, Arctic regions, tropical islands, river valleys. Humans learned to live anywhere they went. They adapted their tools, clothing, and shelters to match local conditions." Dr. Carter showed pictures of traditional clothing and shelters from around the world. Eskimo igloos, desert tents, mountain lodges, floating houses in flood-prone areas. Each represented human adaptation to challenging environments. This adaptability is considered normal for your species? Dr. Vexty asked. Completely normal, Dr. Carter replied. It's one of humanity's greatest strengths. We can live almost anywhere. The historical presentation took a darker turn when Dr. Carter reached the section on human conflicts. He had planned to briefly cover major wars as part of human development, but the aliens demanded detailed explanations. Humans have fought wars throughout history, Dr. Carter explained. Conflicts between different groups over territory, resources, or beliefs. Your species engages in organized violence against itself? Quinter sounded shocked. Unfortunately, yes. War has been part of human history for thousands of years. But it's also driven many technological advances. Dr. Carter showed examples of military innovations that had later found peaceful uses. Navigation tools developed for naval warfare, communication systems created for battlefield coordination, medical advances made to treat wounded soldiers. War forces humans to solve problems quickly and efficiently, Dr. Carter explained. Many of our greatest innovations came from military necessity. The aliens requested a private conference that lasted over an hour. When they returned, they asked Dr. Carter to explain specific military tactics and strategies. I'm not really a military expert, Dr. Carter said, but I can explain some basic concepts. Lieutenant Colonel Nina Brooks had been called in to provide military historical context. She was a calm, professional officer who had studied warfare throughout human history as part of her advanced training. Human military development shows consistent patterns, Colonel Brooks explained. We develop strategies to overcome superior numbers, difficult terrain, or technological disadvantages. She showed examples of famous military campaigns where smaller human forces had defeated larger enemies through superior tactics, better training, or innovative strategies. The Battle of Thermopylae, where 300 Spartans held off a much larger Persian army. The Battle of Agincourt, where English longbowmen defeated French heavy cavalry. These battles show how humans use intelligence and determination to overcome seemingly impossible odds. Your species regularly engages in combat against superior forces? Asked Dr. Vexty. When necessary, yes, Colonel Brooks replied. Humans don't like to give up. If something threatens us, we find a way to fight back. The aliens asked about modern military capabilities, and Colonel Brooks provided basic information about current defense systems. She explained how human militaries train soldiers to operate in any environment and under extreme stress. Modern soldiers can fight in Arctic conditions, desert, heat, jungle environments, or urban settings, she said. They're trained to continue operating even when injured, exhausted, or cut off from support. They continue fighting while injured? Korth asked. If the mission requires it, yes. Human soldiers are trained to push through pain, fatigue, and fear to complete their objectives. The final part of the investigation focused on what the aliens called human entertainment and psychological conditioning. They had requested access to human movies, television shows, and sports broadcasts. Agent Claire Bennett had prepared a selection of what she considered representative human entertainment: action movies, comedies, documentaries, and sports events. She thought it would give the aliens insight into human culture and values. The first movie she showed was a standard action film about a police detective fighting criminals. The aliens watched in silence as the hero survived explosions, car crashes, and gunfights while pursuing the villains. This appears to be a documentary about human law enforcement, observed Dr. Vexty. No, it's fiction, Claire explained. Entertainment. Humans enjoy watching exciting stories. The protagonist survives multiple lethal encounters and continues functioning normally, noted Korth. It's exaggerated for entertainment value, Claire said. Real police work isn't usually that dramatic. The aliens requested to see more examples. Claire showed them a disaster movie about humans surviving earthquakes and volcanic eruptions, a war film about soldiers in combat, and a science fiction movie about space exploration. All of these feature humans surviving impossible situations. Observed Quinter. That's what makes them exciting, Claire replied. People like stories about overcoming challenges. The sports broadcasts were even more disturbing to the aliens. They watched football players crashing into each other at high speed, boxers hitting each other repeatedly, and extreme sports athletes performing dangerous stunts. These individuals are engaging in voluntary combat for recreation, Dr. Vexty noted. Sports are competitive, but they're not really combat, Claire explained. There are rules to keep people safe. Safe? Korth watched a hockey player get checked into the boards and immediately get back up to continue playing. The participant appears to have sustained significant impact trauma. Hockey players are tough, Claire said with pride. Most sports require physical conditioning and the ability to handle contact. The aliens spent days reviewing human entertainment media. Horror movies convinced them that humans regularly expose themselves to psychological terror for pleasure. Comedy shows suggested that humans found pain and embarrassment amusing. Nature documentaries about human explorers in dangerous environments confirmed their worst fears about human risk-seeking behavior. Human entertainment consistently features scenarios that would be classified as survival horror by Federation standards, Dr. Vexty reported to the Council. Yet humans consume this media voluntarily and appear to derive pleasure from it. The investigation team's final report painted a picture of humanity that terrified the Galactic Federation. Here was a species that had evolved on a planet so dangerous that surviving it required impossible physical capabilities, psychological resilience, and adaptive intelligence. Humans didn't just survive their hostile environment, they thrived in it and actively sought out additional challenges for entertainment. 6 months after the first alien investigation team left Earth, Ambassador Helen Wright received an invitation that would change humanity's place in the galaxy forever. The Galactic Federation Council had called an emergency session to discuss what they termed the human situation, and they requested Earth's representative to attend via holographic transmission. Helen was excited about the opportunity. As Earth's first official ambassador to the Galactic Federation, she saw this as a chance to strengthen the relationship between humanity and the hundreds of alien species that made up the galactic community. She had prepared a presentation about human culture, achievements, and peaceful intentions. The Federation Council chamber was massive, with representatives from over 200 different species arranged in a complex circular pattern. Helen's holographic image appeared at the center, where she could address the entire assembly. She noticed that her platform was surrounded by what looked like protective barriers, but she assumed this was standard protocol for holographic presentations. Council Speaker Zeftai, a tall being with crystalline features, called the session to order. We are gathered today to address Resolution 2847, the classification and containment of the human species. Helen was confused by the word containment, but she smiled and waited for her turn to speak. She had expected this to be a welcome ceremony or perhaps a discussion about trade agreements. Ambassador Wright, Speaker Zeftai continued, the Council has reviewed the comprehensive investigation report submitted by the Federation Assessment Team. We must now determine the appropriate response to the threat your species presents. To galactic security? Threat? Helen asked, her smile fading. I'm sorry, but I think there might be some translation error. Humans aren't a threat to anyone. We're hoping to become productive members of the galactic community. A ripple of what Helen could only describe as nervous laughter went through the assembly. Several representatives activated personal protection fields. Ambassador Wright, said Council Member Vorthak, a member of the same species as Dr. Vexty. Perhaps you are not aware of your own species' capabilities. Allow me to present the investigation findings. A massive display screen activated showing the title Threat Assessment Human Species Classification. Helen watched in growing amazement as the presentation began. Humans demonstrate survival capabilities that exceed all known biological parameters, Vorthak announced. They consume industrial chemicals for recreational purposes, including ethanol, capsaicin, and various alkaloids. Images appeared showing humans drinking alcohol, eating spicy food, and drinking coffee. The presentation treated these normal activities as evidence of an impossible metabolism. Wait, Helen interrupted. You're talking about beer and hot sauce. These aren't industrial chemicals. They're just food and drinks that people enjoy. Ethanol is used in fuel production and sterilization, Vorthak replied. Capsaicin is a defensive compound produced by plants to prevent consumption. Your species seeks out and consumes these substances voluntarily. Helen tried to explain that humans had been eating and drinking these things for thousands of years, but the council seemed to interpret her casual attitude as further evidence of human danger. The presentation continued with documentation of human physical capabilities. Videos showed humans lifting heavy weights, running long distances, and surviving in extreme environments. Humans demonstrate strength levels equivalent to powered exoskeletons, Vorthak stated. They can operate continuously under conditions that would incapacitate most Federation species. Those are just people exercising, Helen protested. Physical fitness is important for health. Most humans can do basic activities like running and lifting. The council members exchanged worried glances. Helen's matter-of-fact description of superhuman capabilities only reinforced their fears. The geological section of the presentation was particularly damning. The aliens displayed Earth's earthquake zones, volcanic regions, and severe weather patterns as evidence that humans lived on an impossible death world. The human homeworld experiences regular seismic events, atmospheric disturbances of extreme violence and geological instability, announced weather specialist Korthai. Yet humans have built permanent settlements in the most dangerous regions. People live all over Earth because it's our home, Helen explained. Yes, we have earthquakes and storms, but we've learned to build structures that can handle them. It's not really that dangerous when you know what you're doing. Helen's casual dismissal of planetary-scale disasters as minor inconveniences caused several council members to activate additional protective measures. The historical section focused on human warfare and survival through catastrophic events. The presentation described ice ages, volcanic winters, and mass extinctions as routine survival challenges that humans had overcome through adaptation and technology. The human species has survived multiple extinction-level events, declared historian Quillix. They demonstrate consistent patterns of aggressive expansion and territorial conquest. We're explorers, not conquerors, Helen said firmly. Humans spread across Earth because we're curious about new places. We explore because we want to learn and discover new things. Your species has engaged in continuous warfare for its entire recorded history, Quillix continued. Military conflict appears to be a primary driver of human technological development. Helen tried to explain that while humans had fought wars in the past, they had also created art, science, and philosophy. She described human achievements in medicine, engineering, and space exploration. But the council seemed to focus only on the military implications of human innovation. The entertainment section was perhaps the most disturbing to the alien council. They had interpreted human movies, sports, and recreational activities as training programs for violence and survival conditioning. Humans voluntarily expose themselves to psychological terror scenarios for pleasure, reported cultural analyst Mexti. They engage in ritualized combat called sports and consume media depicting survival in hostile conditions. Those are just movies and games, Helen laughed, though she was starting to feel frustrated. People watch action films for excitement, and sports are competitive games. They're entertainment, not military training. Your species finds mortal danger entertaining, Mexti observed. This suggests a psychological adaptation to constant threat environments. Helen realized that the aliens were interpreting everything about human culture through the lens of fear. Every normal human activity was being classified as evidence of a dangerous species. The presentation concluded with a comprehensive threat assessment that classified humans as apex galactic predators with uncontainable expansion potential and extreme adaptive capabilities. Speaker Zeftai addressed the assembly. Based on the evidence presented, we must vote on Resolution 2847. All in favor of classifying Earth as a Class X death world and humanity as a Tier 1 apex predator species. Helen watched in shock as every single council member voted in favor of the resolution. Not one alien species opposed the classification. The resolution passes unanimously, Speaker Zeftai announced. Earth is hereby classified as the galaxy's most terrifying planet, and humans are designated as the most dangerous species in known space. The formal declaration included several immediate restrictions. A 50-light-year exclusion zone would be established around Earth. No Federation vessel would approach the human homeworld without military escort. All contact with humans would require special authorization and protective protocols. Furthermore, Speaker Zeftai continued, humans will be prohibited from joining the Galactic Federation until such time as appropriate containment measures can be developed. Helen stood in stunned silence as the implications sank in. Humanity had just been banned from the galactic community because aliens found normal human life too terrifying to tolerate. I need to protest this decision, Helen said finally. This is all based on misunderstandings. Humans aren't dangerous. We're friendly, peaceful people who just want to explore space and meet other species. Ambassador Wright, Speaker Zeftai, replied, your calm demeanor while discussing the consumption of industrial chemicals, survival in impossible conditions, and voluntary exposure to mortal danger only confirms our assessment. No species that considers such activities normal can be allowed unrestricted access to the galactic community. Helen tried for another hour to explain human behavior, but every word she spoke seemed to make the situation worse. Her casual attitude toward what the aliens considered impossible dangers only reinforced their belief that humans were psychologically unstable apex predators. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Engineer Tony Grant and Communications Officer Melissa Clark were monitoring the Federation broadcast networks when they intercepted the Council's public announcement. Listen to this, Tony called to the other crew members aboard the Starbound. The Galactic Federation has officially named Earth the most terrifying planet in the galaxy. Melissa read the announcement aloud. Warning to all Federation species. Humans are classified as friendly but incomprehensibly dangerous. Direct contact requires military-grade protective equipment and extreme caution.